We should always respect others' time, right? I love questions, but I will make sure that I have done my research myself first. I will not take your time. I will not ping you until unless I'm satisfied that I've done my own research. People are there to help, but then do your own research first and invest time in yourself.
You're listening to the East Meets West Pakistani Professional Journeys podcast, released bi-weekly every Sunday at 5 p.m. on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple iTunes. Welcome to the East Meets West Pakistani Professional Journeys podcast. Today, we have Alishba. She's completed her bachelor's in engineering and technology at NET University in Karachi. She's worked as a software developer at Innovative Solutions in Pakistan, a software engineer at Information Technology Services, and is currently working as a full stack software developer at Emoot in Canada. It's a pleasure having you on, Alishba. So how was your time in Pakistan? Let's start off there.
So when I think about home, I think I refer back to Pakistan because I'm new here. It's not been really a long time since I landed in Canada. I landed in Canada in October 2022, so it's just been an year and a half. So I'm still a newbie here, figuring out things in a multicultural country. So I still feel like I still miss Pakistan some days. But my time there was great. I was born there, my university life, my first professional job. I got married there. So the main events of my life happened in Pakistan. I would say my whole life I had been in Pakistan. And now when I moved here, I think I left some pieces of me there in Pakistan because I have my family there. Pakistan is always going to stay part of me no matter where I go.
Okay. So that's interesting. So you moved in 2022. So that's like pretty much, I guess,
Yeah.
after slash during COVID. So how was that experience like from going from Pakistan to a completely new country?
I remember starting applying for Canadian PR in 2019, soon after I got married. So me, my husband, and I decided that we should do something about it and we should move abroad. And that was the time the COVID hit. And so obviously all my things were delayed because of COVID. There are processes that you go through when you apply for PR. So if the usual timeline was maybe 2 months, for me, because that was the COVID period, it took more than 6 or 8 months. So on the whole, it took a lot of time and it delayed a lot of things, but I think everything happened for good. If things get delayed for you at the end of the day, what really matters is we landed here and we were happy. And I think starting a new life here wasn't easy. And I think I'm still figuring out. I won't say that, okay, I figured out I'm a pro now. No, I'm not. I'm still
Yeah.
figuring out things. I'm still figuring out how people work here, how the culture is, how the life is here. But I think what COVID did was to delay our process. And I think at the end of the day, what matters, we got our PR and we landed here with so much more contentment than before. So it was good.
Okay. I think so. It's quite, in terms of your experience being quite unique in terms of how early you moved to Canada. So you probably, it's fresh in your mind. What are some of the main struggles you had when you first moved to Canada or that you recall?
So as I told you that I'm still a newbie, so the struggles
Yep.
haven't ended yet. The
Yep.
struggles are still going on, but things if you do figure out things when once you land here, people are
Yep.
really helping and everything. But the biggest challenge that I faced was, I think, getting a job here because it's
Yep.
really different than in Pakistan. I believe that in Pakistan, my degree, people know that I was from NED, and NED is one of the
Yep.
well recognized university in Pakistan. So when you're from that top notch university, one of the top notch, I would say, people do give value to you and they call you for interview and they realize that, okay, you have worked so hard and you were in such a good university. They think
Yep.
that we have been through those struggles and they give you a chance. But here in Canada, no one knows obviously about your background and your career, how hard you worked. I think to explaining it to a recruiter or someone at a company or just asking to give you a chance is really hard here. Because I see
Yep.
when a job is posted on LinkedIn, thousands of people apply for it. And our resumes, I'm sure that people don't get to read all the resumes. So it's a
Yep.
whole new concept here. I found out that, okay, there's an ATS and your resumes are not actually read by humans until they're
Later.
going through some software. So I think the
Yep.
biggest challenge and hurdle that I faced, me and my husband both, he has his 10 years of experience in marketing and still figuring out his career. The biggest challenge is getting a job here. And once you figure that out, once you land your first job, and I think then it becomes a little easier and you're like, okay, now things are getting a little smoother.
Okay. And how did you reach out through LinkedIn, apply online, or I guess a mixture of both? Like, uh, I see the process can be extremely challenging. Like when you first, a lot of rejections and all, and being able to get into the software developer area, I feel like that is very challenging. So, how was your process like?
So my process was a little different and long. So as I told you, I landed in October 2022, and
Yeah.
then I kept on applying for 3 months and I got interviews, get a couple of interviews, but then I was not able to clear them. I did not know if something is wrong with my resume or if something is wrong the way I'm giving the interviews. Obviously, people said that it's really normal to
Yeah.
not get job in Canada when you land here. So people told me that it's gonna take maximum of 6 months or 5 months. So people do give you their experience. They do share their experience and give you the timeline. But then I didn't want to waste more times in applying. One day, me and my husband went to Center for Skill. I don't know if you're familiar with it here. So I went to them and I showed them my resume, and then they guided me that, okay, this is what is wrong with your resume and this is how you should apply for it. But obviously, it didn't get me a job. But then they referred me to a course, which was at Humber College. I didn't want to waste more time here. So I wanted to start at least studying. So there was a course called Full Stack Development course. It was a 6 month long course. I enrolled myself there and then I started studying because it helps you refresh your skills. And then you meet a lot of people, you meet teachers there, and then it builds your network. So I think that helped me a lot. And then I remember one day my project coordinator sent me a list of startups that are looking for volunteer workers, and I applied. This is a platform. I That was at that time it was called Is Empower, and now it's called Webull. They've changed their name, and they post a bunch of the startups because they actually work to make sure that students are meeting with startups, and because the startups also they don't have much to pay to people, so they are looking for freshies. So I gave a couple of interviews in one day. All happened in one day, and then I also gave interview to one of my current company called Emoot. It is a startup, and they reached out to me and they felt that I was good, and it all started that way. So I did my volunteer work for a couple of months, and then once they were approved with the funding, then they hired me for a full-time job. So I remember at that time people telling me, oh, don't go for volunteer work. They're not
Yeah.
paying you, where you're wasting time and everything. But I don't believe that. I believe that if you're getting a chance to work, to get your professional life started, it's important to get into the market, even if you're not getting paid for a couple of months. So that's what
Yeah.
happened when once they knew how I work, once they knew my skills, they offered me a job. So that's how my journey started. So it was a bit different than others, but yeah, that's how it started.
So before, like in Pakistan, did you do any research beforehand before landing Canada? And what type of research and what were you prepared for when you were heading to Canada?
I was not working with latest technologies back in Pakistan. I was working in languages that are now outdated here. So I did my research and I knew that okay, this is what I want to pursue when I'm in Canada. So I did my research and I did some courses. I started watching tutorials and I started also obviously I started applying back there in
Yeah.
No response. It's not easy to get job in Canada when you're not actually present in Canada. So I did
Right.
my research. I used to watch YouTube tutorials, how people are getting interviews, what should be done with your resumes. But I think that all comes together when you're actually here. When you're here, you learn from people were already working. I believe that you learn by doing.
Okay. So in hindsight, knowing the experiences that you've gone through now, if there was a person in Pakistan that is either moving to Canada or in the West, well, would you have done anything earlier in Pakistan? Or I think so, it's mostly learning when you reach here.
Yes, so I think it is mostly learning and building projects. So I didn't really give time to my portfolio, and I regret that a lot. So I can only advise to that start building your portfolio, start because LinkedIn is really active here, and start to work on your communication skills and learn how to reach out to people because I'm an introvert person and I still feel shy when I have to reach out to a recruiter saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a job," and I don't know how to sell myself. That is my
Yep.
biggest
Yeah.
weakness. So I would advise to learn how to sell your skills
Yeah.
and learn how to do Googling, how to learn things. And I think that's the biggest skill. And one other thing that I would give advice to people who are still in Pakistan, I would say that because I have faced it a lot, people, I think they ask questions from others that can easily be Googled. And that's wrong.
Yeah.
And I think we should always respect others' time, right? I love questions. I love asking questions, but I will make sure that I have done my research myself first. I will not take your time. I will not ping you until unless I'm satisfied that I've done my own research. People are there to help. I am there to help. Everyone is there to help. But then do your own research first and invest time in yourself, I would say.
Okay. And when you say build the portfolio, what does that mean in the tech? Yeah. What does that involve?
So, yeah, so in technical terms, building portfolio is showcasing your projects, right? Because
Okay.
here, if you don't have enough experience, because my 3 years in Pakistan, I worked for companies whose projects are not live. You cannot just go into Google and search for my projects because they were mostly in house systems. So they are not
Right.
posted on websites. So you cannot just go and click on a web app, or those were not regular mobile applications that you can just use and see that, oh, Alishba has worked on this and that application. So it was really hard for me to build a trust that, oh, I have actually worked on things. So what
Yeah.
I can do or what others can do in such cases, build a portfolio where you can build your side projects. So there are a lot of tutorials available. You don't have to invest anything. Just go to YouTube, build things, whatever language you're. So for example, I am pursuing React framework and tech. So I'm pursuing JavaScript. So I have still saved a list of projects that I want to build, but obviously due to some shortage of time, I don't get when you're working full time, it's really
Yeah.
hard to give yourself time for the side projects. But
Right.
building those projects and making it available to the internet, because someone, because recruiters here are obviously they're not tech people. They won't know your skills until they see what you're doing. If you can showcase that, if you can explain what you did, and if you can explain how you can build things, how great communicator you are, how you can be in a team. So that's how you build trust, and recruiters might give you a chance and companies might give you a chance. That's when after you're given the interview, of course.
Okay. And I'm sure you got like you mentioned that you got some interviews, got some rejections. How did you get over those initial hurdles of getting rejected and then just continuously improve to the point where you landed your job?
I think the first step is to not give up, because I see
Yeah.
that people here, when they don't find jobs, they just feel like, oh, we're going back. We're because it's and
Yeah.
also I would say that never say no to an opportunity. I remember getting a job when I was not because when I started my course, I also started a job that I was offered. It was a customer service job. It was a work from home, and many people won't do it because they think that, oh, I have a degree in computers. I'm a tech person. Why would I do something that's not related to my field? I would say that's not the case here. At least you get to know how people work here, even if it's a
Yep.
customer service job. It was a work from home, and I started working for that job, and I gained a lot of skills. I believe that because I'm an introvert person, it was really hard for me to communicate to people, and communication is such an important skill here in Canada. You won't be able to get a job if you cannot explain what you do and what you can do.
Yep.
So doing that job gave me so much confidence. I learned how to solve problems, because here, if you can explain, you can solve problem, you can communicate with people. You're a people person. It gives you a lot of edge, right? So I did that job and I learned a lot from there. And I believe that if I'm here, I said yes to your podcast is reason that I did that job. If I hadn't done that job, I would not ever come to a camera and speak. So that job
Yeah.
gave me that confidence to speak, to communicate. So I think, yeah, so don't say no to an opportunity. Do something, whatever opportunity comes to your way, just start doing. That's how you get job in Canada.
Okay. And for a person, if you were to explain to someone in terms of the full stack software developer, like what does that job entail for someone who doesn't know what that is?
Okay, in software engineering, there are some people want to go for front end. If you see, obviously it's not everything, but I'm trying to explain in simple words
Yeah.
that when you
Yeah.
see web applications or a mobile application, you see a front end, you see how UI is designed, you're able to log in, you're able to send emails. That's a front end. And then your data is being stored at the back end, and the front end and the back end is communicate with each other. So in simple words, obviously it's a lot more than that, but just to
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
with full stack developer is someone who does the front end and the back end. So few people want to pursue just the front end, and then few people want to pursue just the back end. I was someone who wanted to do both, although it's very hard because it's not easy to be good at both ends. You can only
Right.
master one end at a time. I think one of the reason that is it was hard for me to get an interview because I wanted to pursue this full stack development.
Okay. And do you recommend any specific programming languages that either person who's new to it or someone who's already seasoned and they should know it in Canada?
So I see mostly jobs are on .NET framework. I'm doing React.
Okay.
JavaScript is the base of the framework that I'm working on. So if you good JavaScript, you can go with Vue.js, you can go with React. You don't actually marry a technology, right? You have to be a
Right.
good learner. Depending on the job you are applying, that's why I took some names because I think that's how I see that people are posting jobs using these skills. But I believe that you cannot marry a skill. You have to be a good learner, and you have to make sure that when you're giving an interview, you explain them that I'm good. I'm a fast learner. I'm a good learner. If that's
Yeah.
something that I don't know, I can learn it fast. So React was
Right.
new to me when I landed here. I did not know React, and my first internship was on React. So I made sure that I explained that I can learn it fast, and I proved myself. So I think this is more important. Rather than learning a skill, I would say learning how to learn is more
Yeah.
important.
And I know you talked about various areas pushing through and for volunteering as well, not only for the job, just to get that experience built or, choosing other roles. But in terms of any other advice you would like to give for Pakistani professionals that are moving to Canada, is there anything else that you feel like you want to emphasize? Or I think
Yeah.
so we've covered quite a bit. So
Yes, there is one thing that I want to emphasize, and that's having a mentor in life is really important. I think they act as a catalyst in your life. And I realized that when I started doing job at my company, Emoot, I have a senior. I have two seniors actually, and I work under them. So I think I learned from them a lot rather than learning myself and, watching a YouTube video that I
yeah,
might learn few things in a week or a month. They teach me in 5 minutes
right.
because they have so much of experience. They have 10 years of experience. And then the second thing is when you have a mentor, because it's obviously really hard to find it, you can find them in your university or you can find them in your career. You can find them anywhere. But once you find them, I would say make good use of them. So,
Yeah,
and again, I would emphasize on learning how to Google. It's really important. I never ask. So I'm always praised at my work that I ask valuable questions. I love questions. I love to ask questions. And they obviously love this that I ask questions because it helps to move us ahead. And then, but obviously, I cannot ask simple questions like, I'm just giving you an example. There's a software called Git, and you can upload your
yeah,
software using a command. So I will not ask my senior, oh, what's the command to upload my project? Because I can easily Google that, right? I will not ask such questions. But obviously, I can ask him, what's the better way to do it? If I have programmed this thing this way, is there a better way to do it? How would you do it? How would you perceive it? How would you perceive this problem? So I think asking valuable questions to your mentor is very, very important. So having a mentor and making good use of them, I would say
got it.
that's very important.
Okay. And what are you feel the habits that really allowed you to reach where you are now from moving from Pakistan to Canada and now having a role or getting a role? Like, what do you feel are some of those habits that really pushed you forward?
So I think the habit that still helps me is taking baby steps. Don't rush
Okay.
in your career because everyone's journey is very different. And
Right.
it's really easy to get intrigued by people here. When you're new here, people getting car and they're getting houses, and it's a race here. And it's really easy to fall for that trap. So I would say
Yeah.
never fall for that trap and build your own life and do your own things and take baby steps. So that's what I did. I took
Okay.
baby steps because I have friends here who got jobs in 1 month after they landed here. So if I were to start comparing my life with them, it's not good for my mental health. I won't be able to do good in my career if I start focusing on other people's life. Their journey, their life, their share of struggles are completely different. So I think taking baby steps and remembering that my competition at the end of the day is just with myself, that helped me a lot.
Okay. And how do you, like, this is probably one of the harder questions here, but how do you define success? You could go both professional, personal, or one of them. I'll leave the question open to you.
Yeah, I think for me, success is getting, for myself, it's getting myself out of the comfort zone. If you're not really feeling challenged, if you're not feeling that, oh, that's something that I cannot do, or how will I achieve that? Until unless you don't have that anxiety, that pressure in your mind, I believe that you cannot become successful. For me, although I have experience back in Pakistan, but if you look at my timeline, I have gaps. I graduated in 2016, did job for 1 year, took a career gap, and then I started working again. So for me, the success was getting back to the track. And it's really appreciated here in Canada as well. Even if you have gap, they really give you a chance here. So I believe success is getting out of that comfort zone and working towards your goal day and night.
Awesome. Thanks you so much, Alishba, for just going through various topics from your experience recently moving to Canada, as well as being a software full stack developer, and just the general advice that you gave for people moving in. So thank you so much for taking the time, and it's a great interview.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.